Today I want to talk about Lincoln Riley confirming some news we all thought was going to be confirmed. And yeah, all that's coming up after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kid folk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time, and today we're going to talk about Tre Norwood being confirmed with a season-ending injury, and you're going to listen to Lincoln Riley talk about that right now.
Yeah, Tre Norwood's got a season-ending injury. He'll miss the season. So, tough injury, tough for him, tough for our team. He's such a valuable guy. Can play so many positions, great experience. Certainly we'll miss him. Not only defensively, but special teams too. As a guy that was really a jack of all trades for us. So, but that's part of this game. That's going to happen. We've had a couple already, and you've got to. That's why you recruit hard. That's why you develop hard. It's in some ways, there's probably some silver lining in the fact that it happened early enough that we're able to adjust and able to get a lot of guys reps. These things are a lot tougher if they happen during the season or right before, a season opener. So it's given us time to do that. And, everybody was disappointed for Tre, but Tre's, anybody that knows him knows he'll handle it well and he'll come back better.
Okay, so as you can see, Tre Norwood is out, and Lincoln Riley's not necessarily happy about it. Not to say that he would be happy about anybody being injured, but the way that I think this was reported probably jostles him because there are people who, they deal in this information, they deal in news, and they broke it. And, for OU's purposes, it's every year. Every preseason camp, somebody goes down with some sort of season-ending injury or the kind of injury for which we won't see him again until November at the earliest, and it's upsetting, and it sucks, and that's part of the game. It's the part of the game that nobody enjoys, that nobody likes, because football is such a violent game, and because football does take a toll on your body. But in particular for Oklahoma, what does this mean? Means that Bookie and Justin Broiles are going to have to be really, really solid at nickel. It means that Parnell Motley, Woody Washington, Trey Brown, Miguel Edwards are all going to have to be solid at corner. It means DeLaren Turner-Yell. It means Chance Sylvie. It means Jordan Parker. It means Patrick Fields, and on and on. They need to be solid because this is a dude that could play every position in the defensive backfield for Oklahoma. He could play corner, he could play nickel, he could play safety. And he was a guy that was working at nickelback to try to not only give some depth there, but maybe push Bookie for the starting position out there. Because some people, Bookie is a lightning rod for criticism, and he's also going to tell you where you stand as an OU fan. You're either for Bookie or you're against Bookie, and I don't find anybody that's in between. Although I know that person's going to say that they're out there in the comments because that's what you do. But Tre Norwood not only had shown that he could play in big games, he was many times the player in a big game. Going back to 2017 in the Big 12 championship against TCU and against Georgia in the Rose Bowl, he had big-time plays. And he was starting at corner as a younger dude, as a skinnier dude, as a guy that was scrapping. He was an afterthought out of Fort Smith, Arkansas when he got to Oklahoma, and he has made himself available and worked his way up the depth chart. I think when we talk about Tre Norwood, we don't necessarily talk about him in the way that we talk about Trey Brown, we talk about Jeremiah Cradell even now. You talk about him as a guy that fills out your roster, fills out your depth chart. You're like, cool, I can take him or leave him. But he seemed to be starting or having somewhere to play in the defense backfield more than most guys that you thought might be playing. Among them, Miguel Edwards. And there was a time when, I make jokes about it because he was one of three safeties in the backfield, defensive backfield, just trying to keep a lid on the defense, and he didn't have a whole lot of responsibilities back there, but he has purported himself well, right? And that was kind of the thing that you were bullish about, is having a guy that could play every position in the defensive backfield is rare, just like having a guy that could play every linebacker position is rare. And the last guy that could play every position in his position group was Curtis Bolton. By the time he got to be a senior, he could not only play every position, he was your best will linebacker, and to many people's thought, the best defensive player for Oklahoma in 2018, and yes, quite literally underrated, because folks that follow the team knew that Curtis Bolton was that dude, and I think that he's going to make a name for himself in the pro ranks, the same way that kind of Jordan Evans did when he kind of got drafted. People were like, yo, Jordan Evans, and all he's done is stick around and earned a paycheck, not unlike Devontae Bond, at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I think Curtis Bolton is on that track. That dude has speed, he has raw talent, and more than anything else, he has work ethic. And we're hoping that those are traits that Tre Norwood has as he's on the road to rehab and recovery even now. That's how you get into the mindset after you get through an injury. You have the injury, you weep because it sucks, the people around you weep because it sucks, and then you go back to work, right? And I think he's going to have guys that can help him out, understand what he's going through, and understand how he feels. Starlin Baldwin is one of them. Chance Sylvie is another one of them. Of course, Jordan Parker has been through this many times, and those are just guys in the defensive backfield. But you could also talk about Caleb Kelly, who's coming back from his own injury. Jordan Kelly, who's coming back from his own injury. There are guys that are going to be able to help him get through all of this. Again, the big move for Oklahoma right now is you're going to have to fortify a defensive backfield that ain't been great, that was almost dead last in pass defense, and you're losing a guy that was able to help you when you needed help. Now, nobody wants to see bodies leaving. Nobody wants to see a defensive backfield that is shaky, but that's exactly what it is right now. It is very shaky. And you got a guy in your defensive coordinator who specializes in safety play, if not defensive back play, a guy that played the safety position in college, and a guy that coached them at Missouri, coached them at Washington State, coached them at Ohio State, knows what good safety play looks like. Might have had the biggest job ahead of him when you're talking about taking on not just the defense, but the safeties as well. These are things that I've talked about with Ari Temkin and Tony Casillas on their show. Talked about it at length on the Young and Drum podcast, and we're going to talk about it all year, I'm sure, because until it gets fixed, it's going to be a ridiculously large task to those of us that are watching it because we're not there every day, right? We're dealing and hearing what coaches have to say, what players have to say, and what's people tell reporters, myself included, about what's going on in the day-to-day. But what's going to be telling is Houston, one, right? And then by the time you get to the Red River rivalry, you're going to have all your ducks in a row. Because this is a year in which people expect Texas to make the leap, whether or not they should or they do or do not. The expectation is there. It's a year where TCU's defense is always going to be good, and if they get anything like some capable quarterback play this year, they could be a handful. Iowa State knows who they are now. They have an identity. They'll get a running back figured out, and then they'll go forward. And the team that everybody is kind of sort of sleeping on, if you're asking me, I think Kansas State's going to be pretty good. I know that I'm in the minority there because they have a coach change, they're having an offensive scheme change, they're having an entirely different group of coaches come in there, but they have the tools and they have a guy that knows how to win. If he hasn't won at this level, he has certainly become perhaps the best FCS coach of all time in Chris Kleiman. Baylor could be sneaky because they only leave the state 3 times to play. They play in Texas every other time, and they get Oklahoma at home to get a lot of their bigger games at home. And of course, Oklahoma State, they get together quarterback. They're always dangerous if they got a quarterback. The only 2 teams I feel comfortable writing off at this point are West Virginia and Kansas. Kansas because I don't care who Les Miles is. I've seen the roster. I've seen the personnel. It's going to take a couple of years at a minimum. And West Virginia for the same reason. You don't even know who the wide receivers or safeties are because they all transferred out. They're all gone. So I think Oklahoma's in a good position to figure out who it is, and it has Houston, South Dakota, UCLA to figure all that out. And then you got to have your ducks ready. You got to have your boys ready to go. You got to have them able to stop people from throwing the ball for 400-plus yards. That's what you really got to do. And Tre Norwood was going to help you along with that. All right, that is it for me. Doses.